After you activate the skill, it's a good idea to launch all your skills that are available, and when you will shoot the enemies, you'll be able to do extra damage. As you can see, you got additional projectiles flying out that are doing extra damage to the enemies. What's up guys, it's Kosh, and today in Soul Knight Prequel we're taking a look at Archer skills. Archer is one of the main classes in Soul Knight Prequel, and for the most of the skills you will need bow or a crossbow or a gun, any type of ranged weapon. So for the normal attack we got the normal ranged attack, depending on the weapon. Our first passive skill is aim. That skill will allow us to get the mark on the enemy, and it can stack up to 3 times. At the first level it will give -10 dexterity, and as you upgrade it, it will get higher and higher critical chance. The mark applied at the enemy will increase hit and critical chance against them, and also it can stack up to 3 times. So yeah guys, as you can see, when you shoot an enemy once you will get 1 stack of mark, 2, 3, and at 3 marks you will get the full effect of that skill. This skill is really crucial for the most builds because it's giving you extra critical chance, which is always nice, and it can be essential for some specific builds as well. Next we got the Tumbling Shot. Tumbling Shot is a dodge move, so it will have benefits of dodging, it has some cooldown, and it's also getting the benefits of multi-shot and different projectiles, and those are normal attacks, so they will get all the benefits from the skills that you have for the normal attacks. In order to use this skill properly, you will need a ranged weapon, bow, guns, crossbow or something. That way you can attack the enemies with those shots when you use it. If you will use it without the weapon though, you will just dodge, and I think it will be the same with the melee weapon. I haven't tried that actually. But yeah, overall the damage output of this skill isn't that crazy. As you level it up or get multi-shot, you will get more projectiles flying out, you will get lower cooldown, and it can become quite powerful, but it will never be your main source of DPS. Usually it's just evading the enemies and using it in the process just to give them the marks. Then we have the basic training, which is just giving us additional stats. It's nothing crazy, but sometimes it can help you to get an edge over the enemy. Precision Barrage is a skill that's not commonly used unless you will get specific item. If you get Soul Caliber, it will boost this skill drastically, and it will be used in most builds if you have that weapon on you. The main idea of this skill that it creates area around you that are shooting the enemies with several barrages of shots on them and doing damage to them. It inflicts blood joining damage, and it's based on the attack power, and its range is 8 meters, which can be increased using the blowout and given additional damage using the twin novae. As you increase the skill level, you will just get additional damage, and the range will stay the same with the mana cost, but the skill cooldown will get lower. In the end, you will be able to get 400% damage and 1.5 second cooldown, which is not that bad because you can use it every now and then, and that's pretty good way to deal damage. The drawback of this skill though, that you gotta be relatively close to the enemy, and if you don't have blowout and twin novae, the skill will only strike once and in the way lower area, so it will be way less effective. Piercing arrows is a passive skill that allows your arrows to have a chance to pierce enemies. Also, when it pierces the enemy, it will mark them. By default it's 30% chance, and it's useful if you have arrows in your build. It can be Tumbling Shot, it can be other arrows from different skills, or just your normal auto attack. So overall it's good for AoE damage and not really useful at the high level, but since most issues we have are with the bosses, you don't really need that much. True Shot Aura is a great aura that will allow you to get additional dexterity and extra physical damage. Also it will buff all friendly units in a radius of 10 meters. As you level it up, the bonuses will increase, the locked mana will stay the same, and the good thing about the auras that you don't really need them on your main bar, you can activate them once and forget after them afterwards. In the end, you get 30 additional dexterity and 30 additional extra physical damage. True Shot Aura is being used in the most builds, so if you have Archer as one of your classes, you will most likely have this. Resistance Conditioning is a passive skill that gives you additional resistances. It's useful if you are taking too much elemental damage and dying to that, especially cold, poison and light, because that's the resistances that you get. As you level it up, you will get higher and higher resistances, and it will cap at +20 at level 4. As you upgrade it, you can max it out at 75% chance to trigger, which is a pretty good chance, and with, for example, Tumbling Shot, it can do wonders by applying mark to most enemies. Cloudpiercing Shot is a long-range piercing attack that is available for archers. At the first level it has 6-second cooldown and 300% piercing damage, and as you increase it, it will get better with lower cooldown and higher piercing damage. Piercing arrow is a pretty powerful skill. The only drawback that it have really long cooldown. Moreover, as it shoots the enemies, it hits the enemies, it kinda draws them in together, so you got some pull effect there. So the enemies will be in the straight line when they are being hit by that skill, so bam, it kinda strengthens them up. If you get some good cooldown reduction, that might be good. Also, it might be good with some multi-shot, because with the multi-shot you will have 3 arrows that will cover way better area and bigger area. But don't forget that using the multi-shot you will have lower damage, and it's usually not recommended to do that. You got some skills for ranger to have additional projectiles. That might be another good option how you can do that. Sphaera Sagittantis is a buff that you can use in order to boost your damage and movement speed. It will give you extra physical damage, movement speed, and piercing damage. As you level it up, the cooldown will get lower, and you might think that when it gets closer to the duration, you will be able to use it all the time, but no. When the skill is activated, the cooldown isn't happening, so you need to wait until the skill duration will be over, and only then, when it's done, bam, you will start getting the cooldown. After you activate the skill, it's a good idea to launch all your skills that are available, and when you will shoot the enemies, you will be able to do extra damage. As you can see, you got additional projectiles flying out that are doing extra damage to the enemies. Overall, this skill is pretty much a must in most builds that include Archer, but I personally don't like it that much because of its inconsistency, so you can't use it all the time, so you gotta time it correctly. Of course, Archer is combined with different classes in order to get the superior class, but that's how the pure Archer gameplay will look like if you have only Archer skills. It's not that bad, but you will lack mana regen if you don't have it in your build, and you will run out of mana pretty fast. Moreover, the damage output is a very AoE-ish, so you will have issues fighting the single target enemies because you won't have a lot of single target damage skills, and that will cause the boss fights to be way tougher. So even against the boar, if you don't use the auto attack, all your skills will be AoE focused, and you won't have that much luck with the single target damage here. When you start Archer, it can lead to Bastion, Ranger, and Artillerist subclasses. And yeah, in conclusion, I find Archer really interesting class. It's a really good ranged class, although it's pretty fragile and it have really low DPS in comparison with, for example, mages. But it's the only one that's using the bows, crossbows, and guns, and if you would like to use that, Archer is your best pick to start with, and then you decide which subclass to go. By the way, guys, let me know what do you think of this format. Should I showcase you other classes' basic skills as well? And yeah, let me know what do you think about everything down below in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the playlist with more guides for Soul Knight Prequel. You can also find LD Player over there, so you can play it on the PC like I do over here, my other YouTube channels and social media. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. It's been Kosh. Have a good one. Bye.